Hello and welcome to Life Less Ordinary. I am going to show you how to make your own homemade sourdough hot cross buns. So these are a fruit variety with dried fruit. So you could use sultanas, you could use raisins, you could use currants, you could use I think they're called raisins, so they're cranberries that are dried. I've used them once because we did have some, but I noticed in looking at the ingredients that there's some preservatives in it, so I tend to try to go for dried fruits that don't have preservatives on it. So anyway, that's just an intro into the hot cross bun thing, sourdough hot cross buns with fruit. I will do a separate video of a variety or a version of this that is chocolate choc chip, but for this purpose, for this video, we will be doing using raisins and some lemon zest as well to give it a bit of a fruity flavour. So I'd not lemon peel, you could if you wanted to, but just some zest of it to give that extra flavour, as well as the cinnamon and the mixed spice into it. So let's get into it. Starting off, you need to make sure that your sourdough is bubbly and active. Okay, if it is not bubbly and active, you will not get any rising, and it will be very doughy and flat when you cook them. So make sure you have fed your sourdough. I fed this late last night, and I actually put it into the fridge, which will then slow down that fermenting, so that when I got it out this morning, it started doing the rising a lot quicker. The elastic is there just so that I can see that it is actually being active. So active sourdough starter is what you need to start with. I'm going to knead mine and mix mine in my mixer. You could do this by hand. My time is precious, so I use a mixer. So aside from the starter, what I am going to start by doing is measuring out my dried fruit that I'm going to use, and I will use about 250 grams of raisins, and then I have already boiled the jug, so what I need is another cup of boiled water to leave this to soak while we do the rest of this process. So, you know, these are dried, so they are fairly hard. We want them to be quite moist, and they will actually expand with the water that you're going to use. So that's the reasoning behind that. So I'm just putting the 250 grams of water in here, boiled water. And by the time that we need to use this, it will have cooled down more towards room temperature. So just set that aside, and then we can get going. We can get going making the dough. Okay, I'm going to measure out the flour. So I need 800 grams of flour. Baker's flour is what I use. .800 grams. Okay, it's 800 grams. And then 100 grams of sugar. Zero it out. Sugar, brown sugar is what I use there, 10 grams of sea salt, grams. and 115 grams of liquid coconut oil. So this coconut oil doesn't have any flavour to it. If you use the solid coconut oil, it does have a coconutty flavour, which probably wouldn't be too bad in a loaf like this, which has a sweet flavour. However, this is pressed liquid coconut, so it's not going to have that flavour. So we need 115 grams of this, zeroing it. Sometimes it runs out. Always have lots on hand. 115 grams. So I'm going to stick this in the mixer now and just combine it, and then I will add the rest of the ingredients, which will be the milk, which will be at room temperature or slightly warm. If you use cold milk from the fridge, it will slow down your whole dough rising, that whole fermenting process. So room temperature or even more towards 37 degrees is what is best practice. So I've got my dough hook in, oops, and it's not connected. Okay, now it's connected. So I'm just going to mix that together a little bit before I add some more of the liquid ingredients. So putting that in properly. So that is mixed together, and now because I need to measure the rest of the ingredients, I'll have to take this back out. That's why this tends to get locked. So I didn't put it in properly because of that. So next we'll get the milk that is warm. I've already measured this out and just taken the coldness off it. So 250 grams of milk to go in next. Yep. 250 grams of milk, and then your starter that needs to be bubbly and active, 200 grams of that, and there will probably be just enough left in there, 200 grams, just enough left in there for me to then feed it and then put it in the fridge for the next lot of baking that I'm planning to do. So that's the warm milk, a starter, and then an egg. These are home eggs, and they need to be about 55 grams. So a bigger size egg. Yep, there we go. And then we can put that in the mixer. Put that down properly. To mix together. Yeah, so we're mixing this together before we then add our zest and the raisins and the spices, which I'm using cinnamon and mixed spice. You could use cinnamon and nutmeg. Just go with the flavour that you would prefer. So that's almost mixed through. So it's still a bit dry because we're actually using some of the liquid from the that we used to soak the raisins. So that will then bring it together much better as a dough. So that's not fully mixed, but we're on the way. Okay, And then what I am going to add in is the raisins. So this has been long enough now that it has cooled down a little bit, see? So I'm going to add that in. And vanilla, cinnamon, mixed spice, and the zest. So I've got my vanilla extract. This I have made from vodka and vanilla beans. One day maybe I'll do a video on how I've done that. Essentially it's just a whole heap of vanilla beans split in half and then stuck into a bottle of vodka. If you want really good vanilla extract, the more beans, the merrier. Anyway, I've just realized I would normally have put this in with when I was soaking the raisins, but because I didn't, I'm adding it in now. So 2 teaspoons going in now. And then we have 1 teaspoon of the cinnamon and 2 of the mixed spice. Now I realize mixed spice does have cinnamon in it, but I guess I'm going from a more cinnamony flavour. So mixed spice is just allspice and nutmeg and cinnamon. Already mixed together, but I'm just wanting a little bit more of a cinnamony flavour. And then, just for my purposes, the zest of 1 lemon. With these I would use organic ones if I didn't have any on hand from the garden, just so you're not getting the pesticides that are on the skin of just general store-bought fruit. So that's that. So now I am just going to knead that together. So I've got the dough hook on, and that will knead together. This one, as opposed to the, because it's got the fruit in it and a bit more liquid, it is a bit stickier. Whereas the chocolate chopped chip ones, the dough was more like bread dough. I haven't really had an issue with the more liquid. If it's if it's runny, then that's not good. Just add more flour. So I'll give this a little bit longer, but it's looking like it may actually need some more flour. So I generally will have a cup of flour set aside beside it, and I can just start putting spoonfuls of the flour in to get it to the consistency that I want it at. So I'll show you where it's at the moment. So at first it looked really liquidy, and it's still a bit liquidy. But you can see that there is definitely dough forming. So that would probably be a little bit too sticky. So I will get some, add some more all-purpose flour to that. So I've got a cup of all-purpose flour, sorry, not all-purpose flour, baking flour, that I will add to this. Until it gets to the consistency that I need. Now, this is the point when we're going to be having the 15-minute kneading. So I can see that that's already starting to come away from the sides now. I might just put a little bit more in. By the time it gets to finishing the rise, the bulk rising, it will be soft and pliable. So I might just put a little bit more in. So there's still some on the sides which will be incorporated in, but you can see that it's starting to come away from the sides, and that's more what I'm after. So the dough has been kneading for 15 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer it into a large mixing bowl that will then, normally I would actually put it in the oven, but because I've got something else in there, I can't. So I'll cover it over with a clean towel and put it towards the back of the stove, like that one. Because this has sugar in it, it is a bit stickier as a dough. So this is the consistency that we've ended up with. So it will be a little bit stickier than, say, bread dough, which should usually come straight away from the bowl. This one isn't too bad, but I'm trying to get as much of the dough into the bowl as I can. As we do the folds, the stretch and folds, this will actually come together and not be sticky on the side. You could put some oil on the inside of the bowl, but I don't actually find that to be necessary. By the time we get to, doing, finishing off the stretch and folds and do the window pane test, it's no longer sticky and not an issue. So what I'm going to do is put a cover, plain tea towel over the top of that, put it at the back of the stove, and then let it rest for half an hour, and then in half an hour's time I will do a series of 4 stretch and folds every half an hour for 2 hours. So the dough has sat on the counter over there for half an hour. And I'm going to perform the first of the stretch and folds. So it's just pulling from one side. So even now it's not as sticky as it was when I put it in. So pulling from one side, folding it over, pulling from the other side, pulling it over. So for the 4 corners, even though it's a round bowl, doing it that way, and then covering it over and putting it back out of the way, and doing that for every half an hour for another 3 goes. And over that time, as we keep doing the stretch and folds, the dough will become a lot tighter, less sticky, and be at the spot where we want it to be to do the rest of the rising. I've put it over to the side. We'll do the half hour turns for another 3 turns, and then we will be sitting it there without doing any more turns to wait for it to triple in size. So that's what we're wanting to happen before we can then divide it into the individual buns, put them into a tray and let them rise again. So this is that'll be a second rise, but at the moment that's what we've got over there, waiting for the next half hour stretch and fold. So it is the next morning, and I'm about to get the dough for the Fruit Hot Cross Buns out of the oven. I've had it in there proofing overnight, so we were looking for a triple in size, and that has actually happened. So I'll get that out and you'll be able to see how much this has risen. So what my job now is to do is tip that out onto the bench so that I can shape them into the sized buns that I want. So I've got a baking tray, baking dish. You can use steel ones, you can use ceramic ones. Looking at this, I probably will need to get another dish as well, because this won't be enough for this amount of dough. And depending upon the size that you're actually after of the doughs, of the buns, then you know, it may fit that, but it probably won't for me, because I want smaller ones, more snack size, as opposed to a full size one like you would get, I don't know, at the store. So what I'm doing now is I'm just getting this into a rectangle, stretching it out a bit, and then I am going to stretch and roll this. Stretch and roll. And then pinch it together, pinch it together. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to divide that into the number of buns that I'm after. You'll just have to excuse some of the noise because the kids are waking up and getting themselves breakfast. What are you after, Trinity?
Tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce.
But there's not.
There's one that's open. There you go. I think that's open. Just double check.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the different sleeping patterns of children. We have 9, and we have a number of very early risers, and some that, if we let them, would sleep in probably until lunchtime, which is not something that Dean and I would ever do. I don't think we've ever done that in our lives, but they're all different. So I think I've said earlier in this video that this dough's a little bit stickier than, say, a normal sourdough loaf. You know, it does have fruit in it. It does have sugar in it that I wouldn't normally put in, say, an artisan loaf or country loaf. But it's not sticky enough that it's sticking to the bench and getting all over my fingers. Okay, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, that's 16. I've only done half. So this is not going to be big enough. So you could do them twice the size of this. I just find that it's too big for us and for our kids. It fills them up a bit too much. You just want it more as a snack size. I think I've already said that. Yeah. Almost done. So once we shape these, they'll just sit in the tray. I'll put them back in the oven as a proofing box for 2 to 3 hours. What we're looking for is for a doubling in size. So that's those all divided. I might put some of the smaller ones that are... So if I grab this off the bench, all I'm looking for is to try and stretch from underneath and then pinching together and putting sort of fairly close to one another in here until I get them all shaped and ready to go to proof for 2 to 3 hours. Like that. So between Salome and I, we have managed to shape all these buns. So these will go into the oven with a tea towel over the top as a proofing box for 2 to 3 hours for them to rise to double the size, and then I can put the piping cross on the top. So with this you could also not put any piped cross on the top and just use it as a fruit bun. If you're going to do that, I would probably make them a little bit bigger, but for our purposes, for sticking in the freezer for snacks, this is the size I'm going with, and because it's coming up to Easter, we are putting the hot cross bun piping on the top. I'm just grabbing a tea towel. I have to get another one, I think. It doesn't get clean. And there we go. So it's a couple of hours later. It's actually ended up being probably about 5 hours since I put this dough over there to rise. The kitchen's quite warm at the moment because I've actually got some lamb in here that has been slow roasting since about 11 o'clock. So the warmth has meant that this has risen quite well. So these are the fruit buns, and I have made up a paste out of 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of icing sugar, and enough water to make it into a paste. I've put it into this piping bag, and I am just going to pipe this in. So I'll just bring this down so you can actually see what I'm doing. The super simple tip for today will be that start from one side, work your way across. Do that and then go down this way. So don't try and pipe each individual one. This saves a lot more time, and it's much more efficient and it looks better. So I've made this piping mixture up so that it has icing sugar, so that it is a sweet dough rather than just a doughy mix. So just having that little bit of sweetness. As you can see, I've only made it in a thin line. You could cut more off the bottom of the bag if you wanted something a bit thicker, but we are happy with this thin line. Like that. So then this just needs to go into the oven on 180 degrees for 30 minutes. And I have actually found that no matter what the size is, whether it's a big one or a small one, that 30 minutes is pretty much spot on for what's required. So there you have it. I'm about to put that into the oven. The hot cross buns have just finished in the oven. They were in there for 30 minutes, and I'm just quickly making up this glaze with pulp-free orange juice and some icing sugar. If you don't want the orange juice and you just want sugar syrup, I would just use icing sugar and water. But We tend to like the orange juice flavour to it. And if it isn't dissolved, then stick it in the microwave or in a pan just to dissolve the sugar, but that doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to put this on now with a pastry brush. So do this as it's just come out of the oven, and with all sourdoughs, all breads, you need to resist the temptation to help yourself to this while it's hot, because it will still be quite doughy. So while it smells absolutely delicious, it will not taste very nice until it has fully cooled down. So that is as simple as that, and that glaze will just give an extra flavour and sweetness to it, but also help to make the outside of it soft. Okay, we're trying these hot cross buns. So these are the fruit ones. Yes, Hannah?
Very good consistency, nice and hard on the top,
Yep.
and soft in the middle, and it's sweet, and also it's got that kind of sourdough consistency still, which is great.
Excellent. Now, I know that you don't normally like fruit.
I don't actually. I do not like sultanas, and it's actually quite nice. I would have another one.
Okay, there you go. Salome, what do you think?
It's really nice. The fruit's nice and soft.
Yep.
Yeah, the top's sweet.
All good things. Yep. Okay. Give that a go if you like this video. Press like. Leave a comment below if you're actually going to make this, or if you have made it, and tell me how it went. Anyway, thanks for joining us as we live our life less ordinary.